a little sign has come up, which you may see that this meeting is or certainly will be recorded when we start with Ajahn Sundara, who is our teacher this evening. These classes were for many years run exclusively by nuns, but in recent years we have guest visitors in the form of Ajahn Sundara, Ajahn Chandasiri, and other senior nuns when they're available. So we're very fortunate and very grateful for her joining us today. For those who aren't familiar with Ajahn Sundara, I'll just say a little bit about her. She is from France, as you might notice from her very slight accent, but difficult from her impeccable English. She was one of the first 4 women to join the monastic community at Chithurst Monastery in 1979 as an 8 precept novice. And she became a Siladhara, which is a 10 precept alms mendicant nun in 1983 with Ajahn Sumedho as preceptor. And from the inception of the nuns community, she was a key person in establishing that community and its practice at Amaravati. From 1995 to 1998, she continued her practice mostly in Thailand and in forest monasteries, and has been teaching and leading meditation retreats worldwide for over 30 years. And at present, she is a resident at Amaravati Monastery. Unfortunately, the monastery, because of the pandemic, is closed and shut and not open to visitors, which is an extraordinary state of affairs for a Buddhist monastery, because they're usually open and accessible to lay people. But fortunately, we have the technology which allows us to be in contact with the community in the form of a class such as this. So what we will be doing is we will remain in silence. Ajahn Sundara will be leading the chanting together with Imogen's assistance or support. We'll then have a period of meditation after the 3 refuges and 5 precepts. Then Ajahn Sundara will offer some reflections, and then we'll take questions from the floor. So a very warm welcome. Thank you very much for joining us, sister. And I'll hand over to Ajahn Sundara and Lavinia, who is in the back together with Wengdu and Odin doing the technical backup for our session this evening. So thank you all.
So I just want to say hello to everybody. Good evening.
Good evening, sister.
I hope you're all well, bearing up with all the kind of the various movements of the pandemic going up and down. And it's lovely to meet again at the Buddhist Society forum here, each of us in our own home. And I will we'll start with a little chant in Pali, which is just a kind of a way of honoring the Buddha. So that reciting his quality and expressing our happiness and devotion to this beautiful teaching that he has left for us to practice in 2020. Quite extraordinary that the teaching can be so meaningful even in this day and age, even more in this day and age, I think. So you're going to see the chanting on the screen. Those who can follow, do so. Those who can't follow, just listen. It's always a lovely way of just letting the mind disentangle itself with worldly, interest and with a lot of activities in the mind, connected with worldly concerns and so on. So you can just listen to the chanting or join in as much as you can. Don't worry, even if you make mistakes, nobody will know because you'll be muted. So you're just chanting for yourself. So you can just make as many mistakes as you want. Just enjoy it, basically. So I'll go and do some, light some candles. And then you should have the chanting in front of you. It shouldn't be too difficult to chant. For those who are musicians in the group, it's on 3 notes. It's a main note and half down, half up. So those little kind of arrows at the bottom and the top, it means like half note, sound. I'm not a musician, so I don't really know. I have to explain you in technical way, but you'll find out when we chant it. Okay. Yoso bhagavata samma sambuddho. To the Blessed One, the Lord will fully attain perfect enlightenment. Sawakato yena bhagavata dhammo. To the teaching which he expounded so well. Supatipanno yasa bhagavato sawaka sangho. And to the Blessed One's disciples who have practiced well. Tamayam bhagavantam sadhammam sasangam. To these the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. Imehi sakarehi atadaham halopitehi abhipujayama. Whereunder with offering a rightful homage. Sadhu no bante bhagava suchiraparini bhutopi. It is well for us that the Blessed One, having attained liberation, Pachima Janata Dukam Pamanasa, still had compassion for later generations. Ime sakale du gatapamna karabute patiganatu. May these simple offerings be accepted. Amhakandi garatam hitaya sukhaya, for our long-lasting benefit and for the happiness it gives us. Araham Samma Sambuddho Bhagavam. The Lord, the perfectly enlightened and blessed One, Buddham Bhagavantam Abhivatemi. I render homage to the Buddha, the Blessed One. Wakato Bhagavata Dhammo. The teaching so completely explained by him. Dhammam Namasami. I bow to the Dhammam. Supatipanno Bhagavato Sawaka Sangho. The Blessed One's disciples who have practiced well. Sangha Namami. I bow to the Sangha. Handamaya Buddhasa Bhagavato Pubhabaganamakaram Karomase. Now let us pay preliminary homage to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened One. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened One. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. We can bow now. And now we chant a compassion chant. Nick? Chant on the four Brahma Vihara. No, we do the Brahma Vihara first. Nick, we do the Brahma Vihara first. Do you have the page of the Brahma Vihara?
Lavinia, page 43.
That's right. Okay,
There it is.
33. It's a suffusion with the divine abiding. Okay.
Correct.
Mudita, Karuna, Mudita, and Upeka. Okay. Now let us make the four boundless qualities shine forth. I will abide, pervading one quarter, with a mind, with a heart imbued with loving kindness. Likewise the second, likewise the third, likewise the fourth. So above and below, around and everywhere, and to all as to myself, I will abide, pervading the all-encompassing world, with a heart imbued with loving kindness, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. I will abide, pervading one quarter, with a heart imbued with compassion, likewise the second, likewise the third, likewise the fourth, so above and below, around and everywhere, and to all as to myself, I will abide, pervading the all-encompassing world, with a heart imbued with compassion, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. I will abide, pervading one quarter, with a heart imbued with gladness, likewise the second, likewise the third, likewise the fourth, so above and below, around and everywhere, and to all as to myself, I will abide, pervading the all-encompassing world, with a heart imbued with gladness, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. I will abide, pervading one quarter, with a heart imbued with equanimity, likewise the second, likewise the third, likewise the fourth, so above and below, around and everywhere, and to all as to myself, I will abide, pervading one quarter with my I will abide, pervading my quarter with hot. No, wow, I don't have it in English, dear.
I will abide, pervading with the all-encompassing world.
I will abide, pervading the all-encompassing world, with a heart imbued with equanimity, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. Okay, and now we go to the precepts.
And now Imogen, on our behalf, will request the 3 refuges and 5 precepts, which is on page 126.
Actually, everybody can do it since they are, since it is muted. People
Yes.
can actually do it on their own. It's fine with Imogen,
Yes,
So
of course. Yes, we can all join in without interrupting anybody else. But Imogen needs to be unmuted so we can hear what she's chanting to you.
Thank you, Nick.
Maya Mayeti Saranena Saha Pancha Silani Yachama Yutyambi Maya Mayeti Saranena Saha Pancha Silani Yachama Tatyambi Maya Mayeti Saranena Saha Pancha Silani Yachama.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Buddhang saranam gacchami.
Buddham saranam gacchami.
Dhammang saranam gacchami.
Dhammam saranam gacchami.
Sangham saranam gacchami.
Sangham saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddhang saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddham saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammang saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammam saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi sangham saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi sangham saranam gacchami.
Tatiyampi buddhang saranam gacchami.
Tatyampi buddham saranam gacchami.
Tatiyampi dhammang saranam gacchami.
Tatyampi dhammam saranam gacchami.
Tatiyampi sangham saranam gacchami.
Tatyampi sangham saranam gacchami.
Tisaranagamani twitam.
Amai.
So now we do the 5 precepts. Panatipata veratmani sikapadam samadhiyami.
Panatipata veramani sikapadam samadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from taking the life of any living creature.
I undertake the precept to refrain from taking the life of any living creature.
Adina damna veratmani sikapadam samadhiyami.
Adinadana veramani sikapadam samadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from taking that which is not given.
I undertake the precept to refrain from taking that which is not given.
Kame sumi chachara veratmani sikapadam samadhiyami.
Kame sume chachara veramani sikapadam samadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from sexual misconduct.
I undertake the precept to refrain from sexual conduct.
Musawada veratmani sikapadam samadhiyami.
Musawada veramani sikapadam samadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from lying.
I undertake the precept to refrain from lying.
Sura meraya majapamaratana veratmani sikapadam samadhiyami.
Surameraya maja pamadatana veramani sikapadam samadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from consuming intoxicating drink and drugs which leads to carelessness.
I undertake the precept to refrain from consuming intoxicating drink and drugs which lead to carelessness.
Imani pancha sikapadani samadhiyami. Imani pancha sikapadani silena sugatinyanti silena boga sampada silena nibutinyanti tasama silang visotaye. And I read it in English. These are the 5 precepts. Virtue is a source of happiness. Virtue is a source of true wealth. Virtue is a source of peacefulness. Therefore, let virtue be purified.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
You bow 3 times. So, we move now to a period of meditation. It's close to 7. So we'll do the meditation for about 20 minutes, and I'll give some, it will be guided at certain times, yeah? So the first thing you do is you sit comfortably. Make sure your spine is elongated towards the ceiling and that you don't have anything really that's going to disturb you for a little while, for the next 20 minutes. You can close your eyes gently. And just remind yourself that for this time, the past and the future do not exist anymore right now. Okay, we are really dedicating our attention to being fully in the present moment. So you can see future and past as objects of your mind rather than problems. So the idea of meditation is really to let go and to, which takes, an approach, a relaxed approach, and a really loving kindness approach, a compassionate approach, a kind approach. So these are the, you could say, the important good energy we can bring to ourselves while we are meditating. We're not fighting with our mind, we're just trying to see it and understand it and help the mind to let go, to learn about letting go, to learn about impermanence. Remember, we're learning that everything is changing in ourselves. We're not prisoners of our attachment or our delusion. This is a study of the mind. Make sure your mind includes also your body, being present with body awareness as you sit, you're seated. You enter, it's like entering the body when you meditate. You turn your attention from being externally busy to internally observing. And as you keep observing internally, your mind, your body, you find that the rhythm starts slowing down, calming down. If you find that your mind is agitated and fretting, unable to stop being agitated, then you can make use of a simple meditation object like your natural breathing, noticing particularly the breathing in that moment. With that, it's more like you're not doing anything with the breathing, you're just listening to the rhythm of your breath, natural breath. That can help you to be really focused into the experience of now, of the present moment. Be aware if you settle the meditation like another habit. We can easily turn meditation in just a simple habit and follow it like automatically, like an automaton. So be careful of remaining, keeping the mind freshly alert, freshly vigilant. New, being aware of a new mind. Each moment, each instant is bringing something new. Mind is constantly changing. So you witness the changes in the mind, body. And if the mind is calm and settled, then you just remain aware of the experience of now and present. Not looking for something, not doing anything, just allowing the mind to relax and allowing yourself to see what is present without your desire to find something or your desire to get rid of something. And if those desires are present, then you're just aware of that. And they are also changing and permanent. So it's something you're learning. how are you doing right now? Is there, can you see any concerns, the mind caught up with anxiety or worry about one thing or another? Or are you still mindful of the mind in the here and now? So now gently you can open your eyes, slowly, and you can maybe spend a couple of a minute or two just to stretch a little bit your body, stand up. It's good, isn't it, just to stop for a little while to see how malleable the mind is. You know, sometimes when we are in the story of our mind, we can feel so solid. It can feel so solid and so real and so almost something you can't escape. You know, you have to push and force things out. But actually, the mind is very malleable in the sense that you could say it's very fluid. It can move on very quickly. But we tend to believe what's going on in our mind, and that makes us feel that we're in trouble. We're stuck with something. Yeah. So I'm just going to do the little chant I do before teaching. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammam sangham namasam. Can you just hold on a second? Somebody is knocking at my door. Hang on a second. Just pop by to say hello. Hello, we love you. Buddhist Society. So, I'd love to have you. We love me. But can you come back and finish at about? Let me see. Let me finish at 8. Okay, I'll put my little right. Sorry about that. Somebody just didn't realize I was in the middle of the Buddhist Society class. So I had in mind tonight to talk to you about a very good topic called the worldly winds. But in a way, I'm going to bring that teaching of the worldly winds maybe in a broader space, just see how things happened. Yeah. Because in a way, if I tell you the worldly winds are, happiness and suffering, fame and defame, praise and blame, gain and loss, it can remain fairly abstract. It's good to hear these things, but in terms of your daily experience, what is needed maybe right now for you, maybe those teachings may be very significant, but just a small part of what I want to say to you. Yeah, can you follow me? So when I think about the Buddhist teaching, I realize that a lot is needed for a practitioner to really sort of gain a real confidence in the practice. Because the Buddhist teaching without the practice remains very sterile in a way. You may have a lot of memory, a lot of thoughts, a lot of knowledge of the Buddhist teaching, but it's a shame you're not eating the fruits of Dharma, which is what really nourishes the heart. Yeah? And so, at this time, right now, there's plenty of an incredible opportunity to observe the mind because it's so uncertain. Everything is so uncertain. And the news every day brings us into that state of, oh my God, what's next? What's next? Job-wise, money-wise, family-wise, health, one's own health, one's own, just community living, social life, and so on. Yeah. You feel it's very, everything is, kind of frightening a bit, everything. Nobody knows exactly, what to do. There's a lot of criticism on different, in the society about it, the way things are being handled, at the government level and so on, and a lot of agitation, around something that is actually quite difficult. I think it's a time right now where the most important thing for us is to return to the Dhamma and remind ourselves the Dhamma, the teaching of the Buddha, is really about training the mind. It's not about sorting out the world. It's not about making the world a better place, although we try to do that by the fact that we are practicing and becoming a better human beings and being more, kind of aware and conscious, and also having the energy of clarity of mind that enable us to really do what we want to do. Sometimes we're very confused, and so when you get out of your own confusion, that is great advance, in our life. You can actually have a peace of mind that enables you to see much more clearly what to do and not to do. So there are many things in this, in this practice that needs to be, that needs to be considered. The fact that it is a training of the mind. It's not something to remember only, or something to add up to all the things we know already. We're not adding up. And that's often when there's not a lot of practitioner or people helping you to develop to integrate the teaching, then it's very easy to feel that maybe you're doing something right by just accumulating a lot of knowledge about Buddhism, which is not a bad thing to accumulate knowledge. I'm not against that. I think knowledge is really good. But if you don't get the benefit of your practice, then it's a shame. It's a shame that you don't get the result of the fruit of practice. And the fruit of practice is something that makes you confident, it leads you into knowing clearly which way to go, how to go about things, and how to move on with a timeless reality in some ways. Future and past are very much in our mind. We think about the future, it's thoughts about the future. We think about the past, it's thoughts about the past. We feel the future, we imagine the future, it might be happy, it might be unhappy, it might be miserable, it might be terrible, blah, blah, blah. Nobody knows. We don't know. Even without a pandemic, we don't know, but we assume that we know. So a lot of our peace of mind and our clarity and our happiness is very much based on wanting to know, hoping to know, and making sure that we know, whatever it is, we want to know that my cat will live long enough for me to see him or her. We want to be successful. We want to do a good, we want to be happy, for example, But the future, maybe you will be very happy till the end of your life. Maybe you won't, It's like we have a hard time imagining scenarios and agendas that maybe don't fulfill what our desire wish. So, this is something that, reflecting on Dhamma is bringing up into our heart things we find difficult to think about. The Buddha talks about things that are difficult to think about. In fact, he said in one of the suttas that the reason why he gives a whole teaching on what they call the heavenly messenger, like the old age, sickness and death, and then freedom. The heavenly messenger is these three, these three situations, these three experiences that are all around us. We have old age. We talk about, elderly people having to be, kind of isolated and taken care of, and so on. We talk about, aging and sickness. It's all around us. We hear about these things all day long. And then you have, death. And so many less deaths at the moment with coronavirus, but still, we have this death, heavenly messenger is all around us. It's really, right in our face, in other words, And so, how do we reflect on these things, So bring truly happiness and peace in your heart. The way you can do that is by confronting them in a way, bringing them into your mind, bringing them, not trying to ignore them or to push them away or to pretend, that everything is okay, Well, there's nothing wrong with pretending everything is okay. You can do what you want with your mind in a way. Do you know what I mean? The Buddha is not asking you to think a certain way. But he gives teaching from his own experience. He gives us teaching that are definitely very confident what he's doing in terms of bringing to our life something we love. Something we love. We love to be happy. We love to be kind. We love to be appreciated. We love to be have good friends and so on. And the whole teaching is around that. The whole teaching is around liberating the mind, but at the same time, the path is a path of happiness, in the sense that the Noble Eightfold Path is a path that guides you towards a happy life. And this happy life is not necessarily externally happy, it's happy internally. Your mind is happy. Your life might not exactly give you what you want, but the mind itself is in a happy place. And happiness in the Dharma is not like you dancing and singing and kind of going around crazy, getting drunk and so on. The happy mind is a peaceful mind also. A happy mind is content. A happy mind knows, he knows when things are difficult, when things are, really pleasant and agreeable. It knows when you're going to, when you're about to do, a thing that's you're going to regret. It knows, it knows the difficulty of a mind that doesn't want to train. Do you know that one? A mind that doesn't want to train, that really hard time. No, I'm not going to do that. You have the rebel, We all have a rebel in us, but it's not us being the rebel. It's just rebellious tendencies. It's you call it Mara sometime in Buddhism, It's resistance, incredible resistance. I mean, I can see it, when I was more isolated myself. I just watch resistance to life, so much, you this desire to kind of be doing something, but then the resistance. Particularly the good, we seem to have less resistance to do things that are not so skillful. Things that makes us miserable, we can good at this, not much resistance, You notice that. I used to find we have no resistance being miserable, doing things that makes us miserable. And much harder to say, I'm going to be a good person from today onwards, No. Or you get frightened, of course, who's going to be a good person for till the end of their life? But a good person, a good human being in Buddhism is really a person who is actually sincere and honest in actually wanting to bring a quality of the heart that generates happiness. Do you understand? It's quality that generates a sense of well-being. It's not getting what you want. It's not trying to, desiring things to be a certain way, life to be a certain way, because that desire can bring so much frustration when you don't get it. So much disappointment when you don't get it. So much kind of pain when you don't get what you want. Yet, the Buddha, in his compassion, said to us, well, you suffer, you lot human beings, you suffer. Well, I give you a teaching where that suffering is going to be your path of transformation and liberation. I mean, I'm just speaking on behalf of the Buddha. I don't know what he was thinking, but, it's quite extraordinary that it shows suffering as, the Full Noble Truth of suffering as a centerpiece of his path. You realize we were really clueless about how to deal with our suffering. Don't you think? He's right? And he said, all right, I'll give you something very simple. I'm not going, I'm ashamed the Buddha is not around now, but lovely to see him. It's like, hey, you don't know, you don't have any clue how to handle the pain of your life. Because psychology is good, but it's still dealing with the suffering of the ego. And it's good to know the ego, because this ego is the step that you encounter when you meditate. You begin to see this mass of, this mass of stories, which is my story, my feeling, my thought, my this, my that, my future, my past, etc., etc. Isn't it true? It's nobody else's past, it's my past. And of course, if it is mine, it's going to be a suffering. Because if it is mine, I'm going to be so invested in it. And when you get invested in something, oh, pain is around the corner, isn't it? Don't you think? Pain is around the corner if you're invested in something. If somebody's in love with a man you want to in love to, or vice versa, oh, that's going to be really painful. Investment in being mine and me. Okay? So the Buddha, in his compassion, say, listen, you don't have to take yourself so personally, because it leads you nowhere anyway. So it's a dead end. Now it takes somebody like Ajahn Sumedho to give you the confidence to realize yourself what he's talking about. You understand? It's a dead end to take things so personally. For one thing, the first thing you do, you lose your sense of humor. Have you noticed that? When you take things personally, you're more likely to cry a lot than laugh. You take life too personally, too seriously. And when you begin to see your mind with compassion, with loving kindness, when you listen, when you get that space that is needed to look and see what the content of your mind, the content of your thought, your feeling, if this painful, the ego is a mass of pain. It hurts. The only thing that hurts in us is me. I want to really let you know that. That's my experience. The only thing that hurts is me. So you should really bow to your ego, because he's there trailing with the light in front of you, and he says, this needs to be let go of now. It's painful. Don't drag it around for too long. It hurts. Are you ready to let it go? Okay? So the Buddha says, simply, what are the noble truths, the centerpiece of the heart of his teachings? The noble truths. Not getting what I want is painful. Well, you can use this, you could say this, how can I say, this theme, just to observe your life in every moment like that. How many times you actually experiencing the first noble truth in your life? All the time. It's not even noticeable a lot of the time, but if you start looking at it, more carefully, and you have time and the space, it takes certain conditions to be able to apply one's attention to observing the mind as it is. It doesn't come just by chance like this. So sometimes it does, but it's rare. So you begin to see that this mass of self is just around us, with us all the time, and it's not something to punish. It's not, you don't have to punish yourself. You don't have to hate yourself. You don't have to criticize yourself. You don't have to destroy yourself because you have an ego. I repeat that many times. Say to your ego, thank you for being there. You show me the way out of delusion. But if you don't see the first noble truth, then it shows you the way about piling up more delusion and misery. Do you understand? You're accumulating suffering when you don't see what the kind of conditioned reality is doing to you. Do you understand? We don't know how to do it. So now you have the tool. You have the tool, the first noble truth. Don't get what you want. So the conditioned mind will say, why don't I get what I want? I want that. Okay, you have the right to say, I want that. Right. Do what you need to do to get what you want, then. Put the noble eightfold path quality into wanting to get what you want. But double check whether what you want is actually skillful, it's going to harm other people or harm yourself, or whether it's going to be, basically a dead end. it requires you to use your wisdom to know what's right, what's wrong, what's skillful, unskillful, what's beneficial, not beneficial, what's wise, unwise, and so on. You have, the teaching of the Buddha is requiring a full participation of our human being, our human body and mind, right? You have to participate with the wisdom of your mind. Sometimes you don't know. We have doubts. We don't know what to do. So be it. You can just recognize, I don't know what to do. So maybe some of you will start going to the angelic card and find out what angels are saying. Somebody offered me once a box of angelic cards to find out whether my angels could kind of, send me messages. But, the best thing is actually to make peace with the fact that you don't know. And the mind is really intelligent. The mind is not stupid. The mind can respond to your need, to what you need. It will not, maybe it will not give you a good answer if you want to do something harmful for yourself or yourself. Or if you give you an answer, it might be a wise one. It might be an answer of wisdom, kind suggestions. So you trust your mind. It's not your brain, your mind. Remember, the brain is like the computer. The brain, its consciousness is like your mind. It's vast. It's vast. It's a vast mind. Yeah. And so, when you don't know what to do or you feel miserable, so just really be fully present and aware with the experience you're going through. This is what will bring transformation. Do you understand? You're not a failure if you're telling your friends, I'm suffering. You don't have to tell your friends. Those who don't understand, don't tell them that. They'll think you are stupid, some of them. And they start getting out the book of psychology and give you all the training they've done and what to do is when you fail in your training. Oh my God. I know that because I read them, I look at them. I'm interested in these things just to see what's going on in the world regarding the mind, all about the mind. So, there's tons of teaching about how to deal with the psychological mind. You notice that, haven't you? Transcendent mind, that's more rare. The mind that takes you to liberation, it's more difficult. You don't find it so often. Guidance on that. So, people do everything they can with courses upon courses upon courses how to have a better relationship or a better sexual life or a better way of handling things, But if you're not at peace in yourself and you're not happy in yourself, you might not even get the message properly. Because if you go back into a relationship with still a mind that hasn't been trained towards the path of happiness and peace and intelligence and wisdom, then it's still kind of confused and blinded. Maybe your relationship improves for about a week and you feel really happy. And then suddenly impermanence kind of crashes in. And then you suddenly have lost it, What I mean crashes in. Suddenly you lose it because things change all the time. Don't expect the changing quality of life are going to be a help, for you in terms of what you desire. You desire maybe something to be stable completely for you, secure, and something that will not change because you like it, something you don't want it to change, in fact, at all. And in fact, you can even harm people if they want to change. Do you understand? It can go to breaking precepts when you don't get what you want and you feel in pain. So, we don't want pleasure, we don't want pain, we want pleasure, we want fame, we don't want, being completely ignored, we don't want, we want praise, we don't want to be blamed, we want to gain in life, we don't want to lose, But both of these things are actually, condition each other. If you want one, you have the other as well. It's like a yo-yo, it's like I don't know how your children saying. How do you say in English? I can't remember. Yeah. How do you say? Can you? Somebody can tell me in English. You can unmute yourself. what the children play on, that goes like this. Can you come to my rescue?
Is it a seesaw?
I see. So thank you. So, it's like a seesaw. If you want pleasure, you will have also pain. If you identify with desire or wanting, you will have pain. You can say, I want pleasure and not be attached to it. Do you understand? I don't want pain. And you don't have to be identified with that desire. The Buddha doesn't say all desire are terrible. It's the identification with our desires that are creating the continuous recreation of the opposite of your desire. Do you understand? When you want somebody to stay with you and you identify, you force this person, you force yourself to force somebody to stay with you, they will go. They can't stand it. They can't stand the prison you create for yourself and for them. Do you understand? It's life, it's completely dependent on how you are within yourself. Don't depend on anybody else. Other people can help you. There is no doubt. Having good friend, wise friend, kind people around oneself. It's joy. It's a joy. But if you expect it, then you'll be disappointed again. These states of mind are like, works like seesaw. And when I talk about the, let me see, praise and blame, gain and, I'm trying to get there. Okay, when you talk about gain and loss, pleasure and pain, fame and defame, and praise and blame, these things are pandemic. Have you noticed that? Not just coronavirus, it's a pandemic in the whole world. It's a world of human. We all want to be successful. We don't want to fail. We want pleasure. We don't want misery, unless you are, I don't know, crazy. I know there's a word is on the tip of my tongue, but it doesn't come. And then, unless you are somebody who's just love suffering and misery and horrible act on themselves, there's a word for that. The psychologist there, the psychiatrist, can you tell me this word? Unless you are a unmute yourself. No? Anyway, it will come. Yeah? A maniac, like a maniac who wants to do harm. You know what I mean, yeah? So, everybody is in, walk the path, not just to be happy, but it's something much deeper, much more profound than just be happy. It's a path that helps you to understand how to go about a mind that is so complex and so tortured and so chaotic and so, conflicted. It's a dualistic mind. So you have all these elements in there that brings a lot of disturbances, you understand? So the Noble Eightfold Path is not to get rid of these opposite forces of I want, I don't want, It's not to destroy anything. It's to learn how to navigate through them. So you can understand. It's a natural thing of the mind. When you have pain, you want to get rid of it. When you have pleasure, you want more. We have seen that, when it's nice, immediately the message in the mind say more for everything, from chocolate to ice cream to to the relationship to sex. I mean, I don't take from my own experience. I'm a nun, but I was not always a nun. To everything. Do you know what I mean? So all these things, we always want more. I can see with my cakes. I'm on a diet, so I have to be careful. But the gustative part of oneself is always wanting more. If you observe it, it's amazing. You eat one thing and it wants more. Am I the only one? Yeah? No, I'm sure I'm not. So don't take it personally. everybody has a certain tendency. They want more. Some people like sour, some people like sweet, you know. Some people love different taste. They like different view of things, different colors, different objects, different mood and, you know, feelings and so on. We're all so different. And now with the world being such a kind of you know, a global experience, you know, you meet the Chinese, you know, the Chinese, the northern part of the earth, the southern part of the earth, the eastern part. I mean, I talked about the Chinese because it's such an extraordinary, you know, culture, you know, so different from us. Yet we meet at the higher level. Lao Tzu, for example, is talked about in the Dharma realm of, you know, when people talk about Dharma and truth and going beyond the stupidity of the mind, you teach something, the teaching of Lao Tzu, for example, which means Dharma. It's like really close to Dharma. You understand? But, you know, in terms of culture and habits and so on, we're very different. What hurts the Asian doesn't hurt the Western. What is considered impolite in one country is not in another. So, you know, the world has become so complex to understand everybody. But on another hand, we can meet at the level, you know, this Buddhist teaching is such a peaceful path because it doesn't tell people to how they should be. It doesn't tell people that they are stupid if they do this and that. Buddha doesn't talk instead of this stupid language, you know, you're an idiot if you do this. He just say, you're going to hurt, it's going to hurt you. You're going to be in pain. Isn't it compassionate? A teaching that you can use every day, from the day you get up, the moment you get up, you sit on your bed and you say, oh God, another day, oh awful, you know, what am I going to do? Oh no. And then you start, that kind of thought, I want to tell you, thoughts are very clever. They don't live just on their own, they want the whole family with them. So you start thinking, oh my God, another day. And then you start immediately bring thoughts that kind of reinforce all this feeling, you know, oh God, I was terrible yesterday and I'm going to, my wife, my husband, I'm fed up with them, you know, and my teeth, my I mean, you know, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, my children, they drive me nuts, you know, and it's like, and me, am I going to be sick, am I going to die? I mean, all the scenario we can, you know, that can that can continue to really make that feeling real. Instead of sitting, this is my advice, which I give to myself as well. Sit by the side of your bed, okay? Depending what's happened to the night, through the night, we don't know, you know. We don't feel miserable. We might not feel, you know, in very good form. So sit by your bed or whatever. Don't go anywhere. Relax, you know. You can even lie down against your wall, against the back of your bed. Don't try to be in full lotus with the back upright. You know, just relax and just breathe. Just be natural. Just wait for, just Lord, the law of anicca will change, will make your life change. If you allow it, if you don't see it, then you see nothing. If you don't see it, it means you're still stuck with that miserable mood. But if you breathe in, you don't have to do a super meditator to do that. All you have to do is to allow your mind to relax, to change, to give you different messages. You will have millions of messages through the day. Don't hang on to the miserable ones. Make sense? Don't hang on to the miserable ones. You can even use a mantra. I mean, you know, the mind is like a space, you know. So give if you think of it in a more detached way, what do you want to put in this space? Do you want to put misery? No, that's right. We all agree on that, don't we? So why don't, you know, for me, I say, why don't I chant? I don't like chanting very much, and I'm not a devoted type, even though I spent 40 years loving the Dhamma, but I don't think of myself very religious, you know. But, you know, sometimes I'm become a little wiser, and I chant something I really like chanting. Like, you know, there's a lovely mantra in the Buddhist, in our tradition, you know, Buddham te jivitam yavani bannam saranam gacchami. So it's a bit more sing-song than the chant we do at Amaravati. I like that. They're more like Thai. And it means, I basically, it means I dedicate my life to the Buddha Dhamma Sangha till I reach Nibbana. It's a beautiful chant. But it might be a bit elevated at 7 o'clock in the morning before coffee. So instead of doing that, why don't you relax, take it easy and learn how to love yourself as you are. This is Buddhism in experience, I'm not giving you, I have suttas, I can collect lots of suttas. And I love the suttas, But in terms of what works, that's really what interests me. Do you understand? So I'm passing on the thing that works for me. And, don't expect life to be rosy, pinky, it's not. We're working with our karma, and karma has good and bad. Karma is difficult and easy. Karma is being successful and not successful. Karma is gaining, a lot of money maybe, and then losing it. That's karma. You don't know. But what you know is that when you develop your mind, when you train your mind, when you, without expectation, but that's another doorway to hell, expectation. Don't take your expectation too seriously, otherwise you'll end up in misery again. First noble truth will strike. Why? Because your expectation might actually drag with them exactly the opposite of what you want. The more you want something, the less you get it, and you might be more likely to get the opposite because you're creating it. Do you understand? Your mind is creating it. When you're expecting something, you have created an expectation. That expectation actually is demanding that it exists, but it's not coming, and then you get disappointed and miserable. It's logical, it's scientific almost. It's so predictable. But the most predictable thing, I like to look at quantum physics myself because I realize it reminds me that I'm just kind of, I listen to quantum physicists, sometimes, because it reminds me that we're truly made of, vibratory things that don't form anything. We have formed ourselves, I realize, We form ourselves as an English person, as a French person, and so on. And we have a lot of forms that, that inform my life. Do you understand? So what do you want to form in your life now, from today onwards, Do you want to form a world of chaos and misery and selfishness? Or do you want to form a world that brings, again, happiness and peace, So this is a basic question. You don't have to know all the sutta and do a PhD on Buddhism, to get that. It's so immediate and simple. But then you are up against something that is totally in the future and the past and complex. That's me. That's my mind. My mind is totally, the mind that's completely embroiled with me is totally dedicated to keep it going. And the way to keep it going to me is to believe totally that the future exists, the past exists, right? And I'm a solid entity that will be miserable forever when I'm miserable, and I will be happy forever when I'm happy. You notice that? We get fooled by the time perceptions. Are you with me, or is it too complicated or too simple? I've got two psychiatrists here on the group that I have to be careful what I say. So, and I have two friends, by the way. I know them. I'm not talking about people I don't know. Well, I consider them friends. And so, we can have some questions now if you want to. I probably have given you enough tips really to go by for tomorrow. Remember, how do you get up in the morning? Relax, don't start. If you can meditate in the morning, go for it. It's not that. But if you don't feel so good, don't start being, disappointed with you. But stay aware. This is the awareness that will transform your world and your mind and everything. Stay aware. Just use a little object, just presence. Just be present. That is what is going to help you to find the next step, and the next step, and the next step. I experience this every day in my lovely kuti here. And I used to experience that even when I was a first year anagarika. You know, my mom said, God, it's so boring. That life is so boring. You know, I used to find, I wanted the teaching of Ajahn Sumedho, but I used to find that I could listen by my mind by then because I love what I was doing. So don't be, you know, I'm not, my mind was saying after a while doing cleaning and cleaning the toilet and sweeping the leaves for hours and so on. You know, I could see my mind complaining. It's so boring. It's so boring, you know.
So I think we have a question from Susan. If you'd like to
Yeah,
unmute Susan, please do.
I'm not finished. Yeah, I'm not finished yet. Hang on. It's so boring, okay? And so what I wanted to say is that whether you think it's boring or not, the next moment you don't know. Are you able to be in that position where you don't know? I don't know whether it will be boring. And then you have another level of knowledge is that it may be boring, but because you don't identify with it, you can carry on your day very happily. Is that understood? It's the identification, the stuckness of that mental state that will stop you from doing what you want to do to be happy. But if you are really able to let go, you know, by just observing it, you know, while you are sweeping the floor, so you can let go just like that. So now, Nick, you told me you have some questions. Thank you.
No, I've noticed that Susan has raised her hand and would like to ask a question. So Susan, if you'd like to unmute yourself, please feel free to ask your question.
So, and Susan,
yes.
I'm going to go to the next page. So
Bante.
where you are. Can you lift your hand
Bante.
up? Can you lift your hand up?
Yes, Bante.
Oh yeah.
Can you hear me?
Susan, yeah, I can hear you very well.
So my question is, I always sorry, English not my first language. I try again. I always had this belief that when I die, my energy immediately leave and merge with other similar energy.
Okay.
So that was my guiding rule in life.
Susan, I just want to stop you for a second because actually I have already read your question before I started talking. Okay, the question was on the screen already.
Yes.
And I've been already, I know what I want to say to you. Yeah? You were asking me, what do you do in Theravada Buddhism at the end, the last sentence, huh?
Yes. So Bante, you read the question, what is your opinion? It seems to me being a Buddhist has become more restrictive in my afterlife.
By the time you're on the afterlife, you won't even know where you are anyway, don't worry.
Good point. Good point to live by. Yeah, I guess so.
No, but hang on, I want to say a bit more. Can you put the question was on the side of the on paper, I mean on black and white. Nick, can you put it on the back to the side on the question? Because
I'm afraid that's someone else's job. No, I can't do that. I don't have it.
So who has the job? Who has a job?
I don't know who put the question up.
I mean, it's a long question, not to have it on the side, because I know it's got about 10 lines.
Yeah, I can repeat it. If it helps.
Yeah, we're supposed to have the question on the side, so I don't understand why somebody is not putting them there.
I can repeat it if it helps. I mean, I'll try to make it short and clear. Would that help so everybody will kind of follow?
Because we are really, above, we've gone away it's 2:20:04 now. We've got a few minutes, beyond 8 o'clock. But never mind, Susan, please go ahead.
So the question is, with that before being a Buddhist, before learning about, in Buddhism, there's all these rules and law and principle, and after you die, there is the 8 gates, 108 gates, or if you are in Tibetan Buddhism, there's the bardos, And then in the Mahayana, there is the Pure Land. Wow, all these are restrictions. And yet, prior to learning Buddhism, I thought I'm just free to travel to any kind of dimension, join. But the one law of guiding us in our moral compass is that our similar energy will merge. So if I have a bad energy, I will merge with bad energy. If I'm a grumpy person, I will merge with another grumpy person. I don't want that. So that would be my guiding rule in life.
You know my advice to you, Susan? Do you know
Yes.
my advice to you? Do you know nobody has come back from death to tell me what happened there? Okay?
Yes.
And the only thing I know is how to live well
Mm,
as I can. And don't waste your time and your energy speculating about the world beyond this one. Okay?
mm,
You have
mm,
no idea. For me, I tease my mind, I tease myself by saying, I don't mind if I'm just reborn as a leaf in the trees. They are so beautiful. I don't mind.
mm,
I don't mind if I'm reborn as a little rabbit. It's fine.
mm,
Do you understand? We have no control over these things, but one thing you have control over,
mm,
and in Buddhism it will say you will have a better birth if you do that. Okay,
mm.
and I trust the Buddha. I have a great confidence in the Buddhist teaching. Then I feel, that it's more likely that maybe, I'm not interested in rebirth, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah, of course, yes. The whole idea is to end rebirth.
Well, I'm not interested in, if I'm going to be born into something, I would rather be reborn in the happy world. But, if I worry about that now, then I might be reborn into a worried world. Do you understand?
Yes, yes, I hear you.
But if
Yes.
I live with a mind I want to free, I want freedom, then I don't have to worry about where I go. What
Mm,
happened after, the element disappear? I mean, earth, water, fire, and air. And then the mind, you don't know, nobody has come, I mean, to tell us back where, even the Tibetan is not so easy for them to find out
mm,
tulku, or, they have to really work hard to find a new and a kind of reincarnation. You notice that for the Dalai Lama, when you read the life of the Dalai Lama, they did not know
mm,
who it was, for a long time. But in Theravada Buddhism, the teaching is essentially towards purification of the heart.
mm,
And by the time you're purified, you don't worry anymore.
mm.
I worry much. I don't worry. I've never worried about death particularly. Because it's the unknown. I know enough that we don't need to dwell in worrying about the unknown. That's not going to be, that's not going to help me for the known. The only known I know is I worry about the unknown.
Yes, thank you. I hear what you say. Just live for now, live right wholesomely now, and
That's
not
right.
to worry about.
If you want
about
freedom, find the right freedom. Do you understand? The right freedom is a
yes,
freedom from your prison of belief in a permanent ego, the prison of believing that external things will help you, to be liberated. They won't. The heart is liberating you. Do you understand? And then the
yes,
last
thank
one is
you.
having doubt, constantly having doubt about, is it going to work or is it not going to work? Like your doubt, drop this doubt, but actually work towards the present, in the present moment, to with the confidence that the future will be whatever it will be. You don't have to worry anymore about these things. You
Yes, makes sense. Makes sense.
don't
Thank
worry.
you.
You are in the
Thank
present
you.
moment and you're confident that this present moment is good enough.
Thank you. Yes, it makes sense.
And
Totally.
I'm very happy. So is there anything else, Nick?
I don't know if anybody else has another question, but please unmute and do feel free to ask. I can mention whilst we're waiting that Lavinia has the Whirling Winds text that you asked for, which can be shown, sister.
And where is it?
No, she will show it. If you want to screen, it'll go on the screen.
Yes, please.
So Lavinia, when you're ready.
Thank you. So, did you mention somebody who, okay? Don't hesitate to ask questions, even silly ones, you know, or what you think, judge as being silly. Yeah.
Dear sister, can I ask you a question about...
But can we take, hang on, Nick, can we take the grain and again in lost?
Yes, we can take the screenshot away and come back to video.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lavinia.
Thank you. Okay, who's that?
It's Madeline. Dear sister, a lot of my Buddhist friends are very interested and they're very active in working for racial reform. And I kind of feel they're using Buddhism as a political instrument, which makes me, it's not something I want to get involved in. I want to look to cultivate loving kindness in my heart and in myself and work for peace and so on. But I feel a little bit anxious about this, movement of this Buddhist movement towards becoming a political instrument to fight for a good cause. It's true, racial equality, but it's bringing up, I think, a lot of hatred and a lot of anger in a lot of people, and I feel uncertain about it.
I smile.
Thank you.
I smile, Madeline, because 40 years ago, you had a lot of peace work, being done in the world, peace group and so on. And we used to say, people had noticed that in the peace group, they were really angry people. All the peace group tended to be really to get very upset and angry about things, So one thing you can notice is that I detect you might be a bit angry with these groups. Or you might disagree with them in a kind of, you don't have any positive adjective to describe them, do you?
I disagree with them, yes.
Yeah, you disagree.
Yeah.
Well, the teaching, you can disagree. I mean, we can agree to disagree, the famous sentence. But, what do you do yourself? That's the most important part. This is what I was talking about when I said you cannot anymore get so involved sorting out the world and others. The world is actually the world of others as well, Mountain and river and so on. The world is made up of human minds, the creation of human minds, okay? And the humans, groups, whatever, we can create many things like that. By being a group, you can create like what you say, a sense of righteousness, feeling right, feeling, But is that, did you check that their intentions is good?
Yes, their intention is good.
Well, that's good things, isn't it?
Mm.
Don't forget that. Don't forget.
No. But I think it's not my. That's not my path.
Well, yes, right. You can say goodbye and turn around and do something else.
Yeah.
You don't need to apologize to them. To you. Do you feel a bit intimidated to kind of to part from them?
I do a bit, yeah. Not intimidated, no. Not intimidated, but I spent a long time thinking what is really best for me. What is really best for me. And I have come to the conclusion what's best for me is not to be actively involved in this, to have a more contemplative life, to look after my spiritual well-being, and to cultivate metta, and to be more contemplative, really, and to try to seek to do good in the world in that way.
That's right. And this is something also that comes with age, like me. I feel happy. I spend a lot of time on my own. I spend a lot of time, and I find it so useful, so helpful, just to kind of realizing that one human being can help the world as much as anybody else, Do you understand?
Thank you. Yes, absolutely.
You vibrate good energy. The fact that you don't create chaos around yourself, The fact that the few groups, the few people you meet, you are kind and loving to them, and more clear and peaceful. You know, that helps the world enormously. So I'm glad that you find a way to be truly to follow a direction that really speaks to your heart, from what I hear. You know.
Thank you. My morning practice is to listen to the Metta Sutta first on my iPhone just as soon as I wake up, I listen to a chant and join in. Thank you.
Is that the Metta Sutta, the Karaniyama Takusalena Yantam? No, is that the one? This is what should be done by one.
Yes. I listen to it in English.
Okay. Well, it's a very powerful, sutta. It's a sutta.
Yes.
It's a very, it's been chanted for 2,500 years, I think. So, it reverberates. It's powerful because I find it brings a lot of peace. It brings a lot of the text itself the wishes, the beautiful kind of words especially in Pali, seem to bring an incredible sense of peacefulness. With that.
Thank you, and thank you for your wonderful talk this evening. I really enjoyed it.
Well, I prepare all this. I've got the sutta, I've got the list, I've got everything. My mind doesn't work like this. I have to make peace with it. I just work with the now. I'm only interested, and I can find the themes and so on that inspires me to talk. But my main interest in teaching is to really help people to do the practice. Do you know what I mean? There's enough people feeding your mind with a lot of good words and a lot of ideas, which are wonderful people. I'm not being, cynical or negative at all. I think it's not an aspect that interests me more because for many reasons, I know the reasons. But I hope I can help you to, make the teaching totally practicable. Practicable, you would say that in English? Okay, that's good. Just luck.
And
you muted yourself, Madeleine. You muted yourself. I can't hear what you said.
When the word you were looking for, when somebody really enjoys doing terrible things to themselves, that's masochist. A masochist.
Masochist. That was the word I was looking for. That's it. And thank you, Madeleine.
Thank you.
So it's a time for another question. I can see now people are not leaving, so you can leave whenever you want. But if you want to, hello, Wendy Parker, are you well? No, she's not here. I saw you at the beginning and suddenly you disappeared. So nice to see you. You have any question? No. Okay. Well, it's lovely. I mean, it must be all your doubts have gone. Not you. I mean, I'm talking to everybody, What do you find most difficult in the practice? I'm just asking you, all of you.
Staying awake, I think, for me. I tend to doze off a lot. But then I've been very tired.
Yeah. Well, if you're tired, it's normal that you doze off. You sleep enough?
Plenty. Sleep a lot, yes.
Well, sometimes also, I don't know about you, but people tend to also be affected by medication they take, they can't sleep. So that's not to blame one, sometimes one is affected by certain medication, if one takes medication that tend to lead to a sense of lack of energy, But in that case, also when you've been practicing Dharma for a number of years now, and so
about 8 years.
There are many things that can make the mind tired and sleepy, And I talk in a general way. I don't know what's going on in you, or whatever, But sometimes when people are feeling down or a bit depressed or a bit, the future doesn't look very bright. You know, the mind creates a you know, future that's not bright. You don't know the future. We don't know. We could die at any moment, you know, so we don't know. But, you know, when you remember certain teaching of the Buddha, you maybe start thinking, okay, what can I do in this life before I die? That's been my themes, you know, all my life.
Yeah. I did have a bereavement though this year. My brother died in April, so I'm getting over that.
That's very sad.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. He had cancer, so it sort of over 6 weeks we knew it was going to happen, so it was pretty tough. But it was a relief in the end, so you know, just to realise that.
Yeah.
So it's been an interesting time, just sort of contemplating that and just knowing how I feel, and yeah, a lot of reflection on death, of course.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. Well, sometimes just by saying it, you know, sometimes the patterns can shift. You know, just the fact that you brought it now, for example, you know, it's quite courageous because people listen to you and it's personal, you know. But the fact that you brought it in conscious way, even in the group like this, sometimes can shift, make things shift, you know, because something in you has been heard, not even just by one person, by many people.
Yeah. There's a lot of people suffering at the moment as well, you know, who have lost loved ones. So I know I'm not alone. That gives me some comfort as well to know I'm not the only one.
That's right.
I think it's strengthened my practice as well. You know, every night I do the evening puja with Harnam, you know, with the Runa.
Very nice.
Very beautiful. For the last 6 months I've done that. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, but you know, your body might just be tired, and you have to take care to find that. You know, I mean, sometimes, you know, the way we eat, the way we relate to people, you know, can be very tiring.
Yeah, that's right.
I notice when I don't eat so much, I feel I have much more energy.
Yes.
You know, the mind is conditioned. You know, I notice very clearly if I eat a small meal, the thoughts of sleeping never come to my mind. I want it to come, it doesn't come. You understand?
Yes.
And when I have a bigger meal, it's not a much bigger, but I notice that I easily, the habit of feeling tired comes back. So small things like that, just some really very down to earth activity can be the cause of many things that we experience in our daily life, you know.
True. Yeah.
So I would really, you know, do you drink a lot of coffee?
No, I can't really drink a lot of coffee.
Or maybe I should say you drink coffee, 1 cup of coffee or something sometimes, yeah.
I have 2 coffees a day, but they're decaffeinated coffees, so I don't drink
I
alcohol.
want to tell you, I was just about to tell you what Ajahn Sumedho said about decaffeinated coffee, but I will tell you in private because it's very simple. I wouldn't want it to be on the web.
I can imagine.
It was very funny. It was very funny.
Yeah, I bet.
That won't hurt you. You know, even 1 cup of coffee or 2 cups, no. But like, for example, if I take sugar, I'm very tired afterwards now.
Yeah, sugar rush. Yeah.
I don't take sugar. I mean, I don't, you know, I've given up on that completely. But
That's something I need to do.
that's right. You will find a difference. You know, it's a big difference.
I need to do it.
I will really, I didn't want to say anything. I don't know what to do. But if you think that's it, just, it's very hard, you know. You can change it with honey for a little while, you know.
I've got plenty of honey.
I think it gets assimilated in a better way.
Yeah.
But it does make oneself tired. I mean, I don't think you take it a lot, you know, to make yourself tired. But if you want to check, you know, that's useful.
Bhante, if there's no one asking a question, may I ask another question?
Yes, and I'm not a Bhante. I'm a sister, Ajahn, sister.
Ajahn.
Bhante is for the monks. It's all right. You're completely forgiven. Poor Susan. Yeah.
And so our consciousness, it rises and pass away very rapidly. Every moment, consciousness rise and pass away very, very rapidly all the time. So what's the point of knowing that? What's the
point of what?
Of knowing that consciousness rise and passes away very, very quickly all the time? For
Personally, it has no point.
it has no point. I was
Why
listening.
why would I bother about something I don't know? I mean, the Buddha says it's impermanent. That's good enough for me.
So it's impermanence. It's at the point that consciousness rises and passes away.
So, yeah, many teachings, Buddhist teaching talks about this kind of very rapid things. In fact, I had an experience one with the eyes open. I wasn't into any special state. I saw that, but I didn't even could name it myself because I was I was teaching a retreat. And suddenly I turned around to light the candles and to do the chanting. And I had this incredible, I don't know what it is, but it was similar to that. It was like fear was like going like this, fear, like this. It was strange. It's a strange experience, But I don't know if it was that or if it was this, but I've seen that aspect of the mind, But I was in a normal state, looking at the shrine. So it's nothing, special. I mean, nothing kind of, big psychic things or whatever.
Okay. So it's no significant meaning.
And my advice to you is that really get familiar with the Buddhist teaching of Theravada Buddhism that you mentioned, and use the teaching that the Buddha gives. He never talks about what some people call, there are names for these things. I'm not going to talk about these things, but there are names, Some people talk about this moment, consciousness moment, something like that, But really the Buddha is more interested to have a mind that's strong, clear, and well enough to see anicca, dukkha, anatta. Do you understand? A confused mind will not see clearly impermanence, not selfness, and dukkha. And dukkha is a very kind of suffering. Dukkha is when you see, when you see truly as it is. And when you see truly as it is suffering, it means you have seen that suffering is impermanent, suffering is not you, and suffering is, painful. But basically, you might not see it very clearly. It might take a long time to see it clearly. But something in you has shifted from my suffering to there is suffering. Do you understand?
Yes.
The difference between there is suffering and my suffering. That's something that you have to work. I remember spending days and days and weeks sometimes, kind of in a way, it's like brainwashing yourself, in a good way. I was kind of repeating myself. My mind is not mine. This body is not mine. Because in the teaching of the Buddha, the suttas, the 4 essential suttas, main suttas, that the teaching he gave after his enlightenment, shortly after his enlightenment, he talks about how this that nothing is not me, is not mine, is not self, is not no self, is not self, etc., not me, not mine, repeatedly. You understand? So I did that myself, and it helps the mind to recondition for the mind to think in a new way. Do you understand? The Buddha doesn't ask us to believe this is not me, this is not mine. Do you understand? He asks us to realize truly, to see for oneself that this is not me, not mine. That's called insight.
Yes, I see now the connection about the consciousness rising and passing away. It's not me, not I, not mine.
Exactly. And death is not yours either.
Thank you, Ajahn.
And your life is not you either.
Ah. Mm.
But what I mean by this, don't disconnect from your life, you know. It's not
Mm.
something you say to yourself, okay?
Mm.
It's something you realize you have no control over your life. Is it yours? I mean, if your life was yours, you could stop dying when you're going to die, couldn't you? Couldn't you?
Mm.
If it was yours.
Oh.
If what life was really yours, would you want to have illnesses? Tell me.
No, I wouldn't be on earth even. I wouldn't want to be here.
Exactly. So your life is just, you know, it came into being through birth of your mom and dad. Your mom and dad.
Mm.
Did you ask permission? Did they ask you permission to for you to come into the world?
Mm.
Did they say, Susan, do you mind if you give birth to you?
No.
They never did they?
Mm.
You have children, sometimes they get angry all the rest of their life, have to see psychotherapists again and again because they're so upset of being born without permission, you know. Some people get really resentful for a long time. I never asked me, you know, my parents never asked me to be born. I'm just in hell, but I'm, you know. I mean, how many times I've heard people talking like this, you know? It's quite common. Maybe in my time, you know, like 30, 40 years ago, I don't know what people talk about these days, you know. Maybe the language is different. You know, from the 70s and the 80s, you know, and 90s. Now we got into the 10s and 20s. It's a completely different world, isn't it? That the last 20 years, very different from my time. It makes me laugh because that's what I thought about my mom and dad when I was little. I thought that this world was really bizarre, that world they lived in, you know. It had none of the value I had. It had none, you know, they had 2 wars and so on, you know. Very different. The language was different. The value were different. You know, very different from the baby boomers, the 1950s or 40s, and then 60s and 70s, 80s. You remember that time, don't you? Some of you? Well, you know, I've nothing to do. It's 2032. We could be here all night, really. Imogen has come back. It's very nice to see you.
Will we be closing with the chant, Ajahn?
Oh, poor Nick. He's still here. Nick is very kind to look after this session. You know, I forget
I'm
about.
happy to stay here all night.
Really? Oh. I just want to ask Massimiliano Pedoja. I was really, really interested by this name. And I don't know if you've gone. I could see your face until a short while ago, but now you must have gone maybe. Anyway, never mind. And Amita, are you still here? No. Yes,
Yeah, John.
you're here. Hidden,
Yeah, I'm here.
hidden away. Can I see you?
Yeah. I don't know. I have combed my hair.
You can do what you want. You don't have to, you know.
There I am.
Oh, you're here. Oh, how lovely. Lovely to see you. Lovely. Thank you for your card. It was my birthday yesterday. 74. 74.
Happy birthday,
Happy
sister.
birthday, John. Happy birthday.
We'll cut this for the internet, I think. It's become too personal now. So, well, you know, I'm happy to talk about other things if you want. We don't call it the Monday class anymore. We just call it, you know, hanging out. Okay. Well, I'm going to let you go and let everybody carry on their business. Yes?
May we close with the closing chant on page 16? That would be very good. I don't know, Lavinia, if you could do a screenshot of that. Thank you.
So, Araham Samma Sambuddho Bhagava, the Lord, the perfectly enlightened and blessed one, Buddham Bhagavantam Habivatemi. I render homage to the Buddha, the blessed one. We bow. Sawakato Bhagavata Dhammo, the teachings so completely explained by him. Dhammam Namasami, I bow to the Dhammam. Supatipanno Bhagavato Sawaka Sangho, the blessed one's disciples who have practiced well. Sangha Namami, I bow to the Sangha. So I want to make a promise in front of all of you to Nick that next time we'll keep the time, we'll keep we are more cautious with the time, right?
Thank you. Well, we see you again on the 9th of November.
That's right.
So we look forward, and then just to mention it for those who want to put in their diaries, Ajahn will be coming to join us again on December the 7th.
And I really want to encourage you to go onto the internet and to look at the teaching of the Buddha, from the forest tradition, the tradition I belong to. They have some very good teachings and very good, and I want to tell you, I don't know if you know, but Ajahn Sumedho is coming back to England for good. Wendy.
20th of November, he's landing at 6:20 in the morning.
Nick already knows, you can see. Are you going to pick him up?
I doubt it. There'll probably be quite a big crowd. I wouldn't be surprised. So, Sister, thank you very much for joining us this evening. It's been lovely having you. As always, inspiring, interesting, and great support to our practice. And look forward to seeing you again on the 9th of November.
Yes, and take good care of yourself, okay?
Yes, thank you.
Bye.
And for those who come to this class, we have Martin teaching next week, and I'll be teaching the week after that, and then Martin. So we have sort of 4 sessions with lay teachers, and then Ajahn Sundara on the 9th. Thank you very much for joining us, and I wish you all a very good week and a good living in the present. Thank you.